Hi, welcome to Detours Understanding Acquired Brain Injury. And with us, we have Julie. We haven't seen her in a little bit, but we're always glad to have her back. And we're going to be talking about positivity and its impact on healing. This is important because positive psychology has been shown to be one of the more effective techniques in helping people in recovery from acquired brain injury of all sorts, whether it's traumatic or whether it's hypoxic anoxic brain injury, as Julie experienced. So, hi.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for including me. I'm happy to speak about, I'm not Miss Positive. I have people who are, but I try to stay optimistic, and I consider myself very fortunate to survive a cardiac arrest. And I still walk and talk and I drive and everything. And that was 17 years ago. So it's been a long time in the healing. But I went down on a soccer field, and now I don't live with my son right now, but he lives with his dad and he's doing great. And anyone who's a mom or dad knows that kids are very important to us. And so he's the light of my life, I call him. And his name is Ben, and he's going to college, and I know he's going to do great wherever he decides to go. And I am happy to talk about my recovery or whatever you, Mark, would like me to discuss.
Well, I mean, you had proposed just generally positivity. So let's,
Okay.
you know.
Okay. Well, I didn't write about positivity. I used to be an actuary, which is a numbers geek, and I took a lot of exams to be an actuary. So I used to write things down. So I have a lot written down in preparation for this meeting. And it's not all about positivity, but I'm a pretty optimistic person, and I think I have to be because I grew up in a great family and I have a huge support system, and I still walk and talk and use the toilet by myself, and those were things that might not have happened if I had a cardiac arrest. I mean, it might have been worse, much worse than it is for me now. So I give thanks for that. I am a Christian person, and so I do believe in an almighty, loving God. And if you don't mind me telling that, I hope that's okay that I said that, Mark. I do. And I believe that there's better things in store for all of us, and I continue to think that way. So that was something my parents raised me with, and I've tried to make my son, Ben, feel similarly. And he is not raised with the same devotion that I was raised, but he knows that I believe in a God of, a powerful divinity, and he's been to church and stuff like that. So I don't go to church regularly, but it's one of the things I do to just to get it done type of thing. We all have things that we just have to get done. Like some of it's paperwork, some of it's practicing our penmanship, doing mathematics. But yeah, so I wanted to tell you that a big part of my positivity is related to my family structure. And I had written down some of that. And I won't read off the cards, but I do. I have a great family, as mentioned. I'm the youngest of six. We went on Rhode Island vacations. I'm from Connecticut. I live in Connecticut. And we went on Rhode Island vacations every year. My mom, Mary, and my dad, Jack, raised us to be good to one another and respect one another with kindness and generosity. And I consider myself very fortunate that Jack and Mary raised us that way, because some people aren't able to do that. Some people aren't able to raise their families that way, or on a different slant. Even some people aren't able to have families. And so, that's what life brings us, and we take what we get and we work with it. So that's what I try to do. And I'm happy to be helpful to you, Mark, and this group of survivors and recovering people, recoverers, or whatever the right way to say that is. But yeah, so when I had the cardiac arrest on the soccer field, I had to learn to use the toilet again. I had to learn who I was. And it was hard. And I didn't know what I was in for, but it was hard. And life is not always easy. It's not always a bed of roses, as we have all heard that expression. But I'm lucky, and I consider myself fortunate to be able to discuss this with you, Mark Flat. So,
Mhm.
do you want me to answer questions, or would you like me to continue and tell you what I'm?
Go ahead. It's like cardiac arrest, vast majority of people do not survive. I mean, in a good recovery, which is you were considered a good recovery. And, I was discussing this with somebody else last night, and I want to just, touch on this. If at the end of your
Thank
life,
you.
if
So
you,
I needed to enhance on that notion of recovery. I did need to learn to toilet again. I
right,
didn't
yes,
know who my parents were, who
mhm,
my son was. I didn't know who I was. I had to
right.
learn who I am.
That's just about every survivor who's in a coma or who is even altered for a bit. But uh, as far as the good recovery thing, it's this simple. If at the end of your life, if you were asked by God or whomever, if you were asked, um, would you say that, you feel, that would you say that all in all, even though it may not have gone as you wanted it to go, because we all have our own plans for ourselves, but would you say that, you
Excuse
were
me a second. Hi, Diane. I'm on a video with somebody. Okay, do you want to ask me questions, or should I continue with what I was saying, Mark?
stop, just hold? So as far as good recoveries are concerned, it's like if somebody, if you were asked by God, if you felt like overall you had a good life, if it, even though you didn't, it certainly wasn't the way you wanted it to go or expected, all in all, were you happy with, like what you've been able to do, in relation to others and, like, did it, you know, what would you say? That's how I would say somebody had a good recovery is if you feel that, like, again, you may not have been able to do everything you wanted or do what you wanted to do. At least you feel as though, you made a positive impact, you made, a difference and helped people. And, because really that's what we're told, that what the Bible tells us, your job is to love one another, love God, it's like help, you know, I would argue you've done those things, but only you know if you feel like you've had a good life, you know, what would you
I
say?
do. I do. I have had a good life. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Um,
to me, that's what I would argue good recovery is. And I would say you've had a good recovery. It's just a
oh,
lot of
I
people are bitter
appreciate
and
that.
angry because I didn't get to do what I want. And that's like the self-centeredness is a problem. But you're a good person, a kind person, and I would say you've had a good recovery. Um,
Thank
Even though it
you.
may not be the way you wanted it to go and may not be the way I wanted things to go, but I would also say I've had a good life, even if, and so I would say I've had a good recovery. Again, may not be the way we want it to go, but hey, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, as they say in Job. You know, I like that verse. It's probably one of my very favorites. I'm Jewish, as you know, mostly. It's like I'm half and half, but I do lean that direction. It's like I do attend temple. Um, and so I say, it's like it's true. Lord giveth, Lord taketh away. Praise be to God. And so, yeah, I know, get a little religious sometimes, but that is something we as survivors, do acknowledge, even if we don't talk about it, the fact that, sometimes his decisions, his ways are not ours, and we have to accept that sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
And so you make the
Yeah,
best of
I
what you
feel I
have.
have had a good recovery. I was told I wouldn't be able to walk. At first I was told I wouldn't. Should I go?
What? Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
I
of
couldn't
course.
tell what you were indicating. Um, I was told I wouldn't survive a cardiac arrest. So I thought, well, I don't sleep. I'm going to run. I'm going to play soccer. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to be who I am. So I did. I was who I am, and I'm
Mhm.
still am. It's not the person I thought I would be, but I am a fine person, and I have a great life.
Yeah.
And I've met people who have better lives, and I've met people who have similar lives, and people who have lesser less wonderful lives. And it's just being human, in my opinion.
Right. As long as you do good with what you have, you reach out, you make differences for other people,
Yeah,
and we're here to help each other out, mainly, is how I view it. That's, you doing this is helping people out.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you, Mike.
It's true. It's at least how I look at it. So what are things you do to stay positive? What are things you engage in that help you stay,
Well, some of my things that I do are I have a great son, Ben, as we mentioned, and he's going to college next year. And I didn't think I could have Ben, so I have a great Ben. I'm lucky,
Right.
I was there when my parents went to heaven, and I believe in heaven, and I believe they're there. They are in heaven, and I was around for them when it was their turn. And I walk, I talk, and that sounds silly thing to say, but it isn't for a cardiac arrest survivor. So I could have been in a coma for the rest of my life, and I
was also true.
I wasn't. They took me off the air breathing,
the ventilator,
life-saving measures, and I woke up. And I didn't wake up for a while, but I finally woke up, and I said to myself, well, at that time, I don't remember it. I know by pictures of what my family has taken of me, but I said, well, I'm going to plow forward and do something good for myself and for my family and for my people. And I consider you anoxic or any type of brain injuries receivers, my people. So, and I'm very forthright with telling people what happened to me. And I don't mean to repeat myself, but I think people need to know, only because I repeat myself, and
that's all right.
And who cares? Everybody repeats themselves sometimes, we get it. We have to give ourselves grace.
We survivors do that often, but you know what? Who cares? It's all right. You can say it 5,000 times. It doesn't bother me. We survivors, that's how look, we're all family. We acquired brain injury survivors. We're one big family. And I love all of you guys, all of you, my survivor family. And that's just how it is. So focus on the positive, basically. Focus on some of the simple things. I think that's important too, enjoying and valuing even simple accomplishments, because, hey, over half of acquired brain injury survivors in general don't make it. This is why the doctors are negative, because half or more, and in the cases of cardiac arrest, 90% do not make it. 90% die. And of those 10% that do make it, about 70% of those who don't make it stay in a coma. You are a very small fraction. And of those, even fewer have a good recovery, which you are considered medically as well as, psychologically. So you are a small fraction of a small fraction of a small fraction that do as well as you do. That is a miracle.
As a compliment. Thank you.
Well, again, it's simply true. And so I definitely can see it. Spirituality is important to a lot of brain injuries, like a lot. And I've discovered it's important to me too. I mean, I've tried a lot of denial despite having, serious brain injury, but I've gone back to family, roots and to find answers. I'm not explaining why this happened. I mean, it happened because I was driving in bad weather, went off the road because I shouldn't have been driving in snow and ice. And, when it was cold and, it's like with a crappy car driving back home to visit family, I shouldn't have been doing it under those conditions. That's what happened. I was responsible for driving a old car, but I was a broke student. And, it's like, you make sometimes choices that aren't so great. But, why I survived, why I'm still here, I believe it's to help make a difference in the lives of survivors. Why are you still here? I think that is why also, to help make a difference in the lives not only of Ben, but also make a difference in the lives of other survivors. You are here for that reason.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I agree that there must be a reason, and if that's one of them, I'm pleased to know that.
At least that's what um,
Well, thanks. Yeah, no, I'm happy to help people.
well,
And if there's something I can do, I don't know how to help as a team, like as a big group, but this is the way that Mark has expressed to me that would be helpful to his group, so.
well, I'm sorry about that. Many people, you know, see this and will see this for years to come. So you'll
Yeah,
be touching the lives of a lot of different people. And people who see, families who see who have a son, a daughter, mother, father,
mhm.
a brother, sister, somebody, a wife, a husband, who've just had cardiac arrest, and they're like, they're not going to make it. Maybe they will, and maybe they'll have a good outcome like you do.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
And seeing this gives people at least hope and makes them less likely to just, say disconnect life support. They might try, one more shot, and that may be what it takes. Even miracles sometimes need a little helping hand.
Well, that's a nice thing to say. I appreciate it of you.
And
Yeah,
so,
I've told my doctors, frankly, I've said, I don't think you tried your hardest on me. And then I left and I went to a different doctor.
right, and that's another thing is I I do think that we have a good a brain for a reason. And that is to push. We're supposed to push ourselves to our limits and try. Not, it can't be just about one person. There are many people. When you are a medical professional, you have to take care of many people, and you have to, reason through likelihood of survival. But when you see signs, you've got to push a little harder, and you've got to push a patient to take those extra steps. You've been pushing yourself, and that's important. And that's part of positivity too.
Thank
You
you.
know.
Yeah, it is, I suppose. I just do it. That's who
Mhm.
I am. But I guess it is a positive thing,
Mhm.
and I'm lucky. I am a positive type of person. So I get
Mhm.
down, everyone gets blue, and
Mhm.
when I do, I buy myself a flower or I go outside and walk or I do something that makes me feel more grounded.
You're
And I
doing
feel better.
things by it. Yeah. Get yourself a flower. You're right. Go for a walk. Find a friend. You know. Call somebody. Yes, exactly. Those are good strategies.
Yeah, thank you. They're fine distractions. Yeah, and I'm lucky that I can do that.
Mhm.
I consider myself very fortunate. And I wish more Americans, I don't I don't care if you're of American ancestry or whatever ancestry
Mhm.
or wherever you live. If you see this video, I wish you felt positivity for yourself. And I wish,
You practice gratitude, and that is something that is rare. Being grateful for what you've got. So many people, you're right, and all over the world, this is a problem. Practice being grateful for what you have, even if you don't have what you had before, or from brain injury or whatever. Practice gratitude for what you've got, and that changes your mindset too. That was something important I forgot to mention, but you showed that and reminded me of that. Practice gratitude every day. Just think about something you're grateful for, and that changes your mindset too to more positive, and that helps in healing also. Rather, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do that, I
yeah,
can do this, I can do that.
an easy way I practice gratitude is when I wake up, I say, wow, that was a good sleep, Julie.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I bet I snored, that type of thing. But and I don't care. I don't care because I feel good this morning. So,
Mhm.
you know, some people, as Mark and I have discussed, are more morning people and some are not, and I am, and Mark is too, so.
It depends on whether I've had a good sleep or not. I'm more
Well,
of
yeah, of
if
course,
I've
that
had a good sleep.
it varies whether sleep is had, but everything varies in
Coffee.
being a human. I like your mug, thank you.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
so
Coffee,
yeah,
morning no wine.
do you want to ask me more questions, or would you like me to?
Well, you can, anything else that comes to mind.
I
You're,
I don't know why I'm as lucky as I am. I consider myself very fortunate. I had great parents. I
mhm,
miss them.
yeah.
And I said that already, and I'm sorry for that repetition.
Oh, well,
But I just I'm able to remember my childhood,
yeah.
and it was good. And I don't know if I have different ways of remembering it. Some is that we have photographs of our youth, and then I'm like, oh, I look at a photograph and I say, I remember when I got that big teddy bear or whatever, that type of thing. And I say to myself, you are very lucky you can remember that, Julie.
Yeah.
And my heart stopped, as we've discussed. And I remember that clearly. I mean, I don't remember what I did yesterday, for example, but I do remember my past. And I find it very intriguing the way the brain works and how
Mhm,
and
mhm.
I think Mark is very interested in that as well. And I'd like to be a part of the Survivor initiative to contribute to learning how the brain works, and
There's a
if
lot
there's
we
anything I can
generally
do,
don't
I'd like to
understand.
do it if I don't feel uncomfortable doing so.
Yeah. Well, it's like there's much we don't understand. Part of what you're talking about is, and the reason we don't remember day-to-day stuff is because it's mundane and there's nothing to like tag it in our memories. So your brain kind of throws it out if it doesn't carry the term is salience, importance. So if it is not something that has an emotional tag or something like that, it kind of gets thrown aside because you can't store you've only got so much space, and so you can't store that kind of stuff. It's kind of like something you're like your computer in that way. If it doesn't have a tag,
Is it
it
like a
gets,
prioritization or something like that?
is it
Would you
what?
liken it a prioritization?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and I think that's neat that we were created, human beings were created with that much capacity. Like I'm a mathematical person, as mentioned, and I think prioritizing is not easy. I had to teach Ben how to prioritize, my son. I'm like, well, the first thing you have to do is make sure you use the toilet if you have to use the toilet, and that's how you
Correct.
get them out of diapers. So
Well, it's like actually your home computer has more storage capacity than the human brain does, but the brain is very efficient at storing stuff that has importance to it, which is why like emotional factors play a role and why your memory's not like a videotape. It kind of molds and shapes your memories, which is why eyewitness testimony is not as taken as well in court because it can be bent and shaped by your feelings and things like that. But it's just part of how human
how
memory
we
works,
were
or animal
created.
memory too.
Yeah.
Um, the animal, the higher order animal work, their memories work kind of like ours, especially like elephants and whales and dolphins and certain birds, and the ones that are closer to us as far as their ability to think and to
In the
feel. And
evolutionary progress, in the evolutionary chain.
you got it, you got it.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. So I had written
Remarkable.
some things down about me, but
Please share.
I think I
Oh,
discussed
okay.
most of them. My
Mhm.
family is very important, as mentioned. We have great things happening in our lives. My mom and dad are in heaven, as I
Mhm.
resounded, but I miss them. I think it's natural to miss my mom and dad sometimes.
Yeah,
I don't miss them constantly. I'm
right.
lucky.
Mhm.
I have great thoughts about them, and I know they're in a better way than they were at the end of their lives.
Mhm. Well,
So, yeah, and as an actuarial, mathematicals or technical type of person, I prioritize things a little bit. Like,
right.
my son has a more technical mind than I do now, and I'm not sure how it compares to my mind prior to my cardiac arrest, but his mind is more technically
Yeah,
clear, and I think, well, that's great.
yeah.
I
I'm
appreciate
not what I was before. I know I'm not what I was before. But I do the best with what I have, as
that. Yeah,
as we do it, we all do. Um, and that's okay.
yeah,
Um,
it is, and it has to be.
that is very true right there. It's got to be. It's not like we get a choice. I don't have a big old reset button. And you know what? I wouldn't push it anyway.
Well, that's good. I'm glad for you. I mean, I wish I didn't have the cardiac arrest.
Mhm.
I differ from you that way, Mark, but I wouldn't have met
Um,
you, and I wouldn't have known different people that have helped me
mhm.
through my cardiac arrest, and I wouldn't have made, the,
Here's the thing I always say about that. Like people say, well, I'd push the button, go back. You don't know what would have
no,
happened. I mean, you might have been hit by a truck or something and been killed like 3 years later
no, yeah,
instead. You
yeah,
don't know, or Ben might not have survived something. Who
right,
knows?
right,
The path is unknown, and that's the thing. It's like and that's why I say I wouldn't have. I mean, I probably would have met Stacy if I'd finished my doctoral work. I probably would be working as a neuropsych somewhere down in Philadelphia or DC or something like that.
yeah, yeah. I leave those on it. My words, if you don't mind me sharing them, are divinity.
Mhm. Sure.
I said, that's up to the divine. I don't
Yep.
know. And
That
I
is
do
outside of
hold
my
on to
realm
it.
of knowledge. Yep. The great unknown, divinity. Yeah, it's definitely outside, but that's the thing. That is why, it's like our ways and God's ways would be different from ours, and therefore,
Yeah,
a very Old Testament kind of thing. Yes.
yeah, yeah, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know the Bible some, but I don't know as much about the Old Testament as I do about the New Testament, Mark. So, it's
Yeah.
interesting. And I
I, I,
know a little
I
bit
know a little
about,
bit more about that one.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
So,
But yeah, no, gratitude is like, I think the key to positivity. Learning to, it's like not either not be complacent or just giving up, but being thankful for what you have, where you are right now, and then, pushing yourself beyond and finding, I forget who I mentioned this to. I said finding the silver lining in those clouds, because there usually is one.
I think you've said that to me. I don't know if you have said it more than once, perhaps yes,
Very likely.
no, but I mean, there is a silver lining to things, and I think we have to recognize what it is.
Right. And that takes practice and that takes
It takes
humility
repetition, I think, and yeah,
and humility. And that's a
humility,
hard one for a
humility is
lot
a
of
big deal.
Americans.
Humility is a big deal, yeah. And personally, I'm not tooting my horn, but one of the first things when I meet somebody that I don't know, I've never met before, I shake their hand because I'm a businessy type from being an actuary. And I said, I have a TBI, so I don't remember well. And if I have to ask your name or something again, please forgive me.
Hmm.
So I just handle it right off the cuff. And I do that because it's easier for me to do that.
I'm a hugger, so I usually just so when I meet you in person at some point, like I'm a hugger, so watch out.
Yeah.
All right. So anything you wish to add? Anything you're thinking that, you know?
Well, I have a lot I can say, as you can tell, because I'm a morning person like you. But is there anything you would like to ask me specifically?
Not related to this topic. I think we've covered it pretty thoroughly. So
Okay,
we'll get together again. We'll do this. We'll try, something, maybe try yoga or, talking about how swimming's good or something. We'll figure
Okay.
something out. We'll talk again about this. See you soon, hopefully sooner than our last one. So,
Okay, great.
okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Um,
Do I just
thank
leave? Do I just
No,
say
no, it's
leave?
fine. It's fine, and we'll just say, please click like and subscribe. Put your any comments, questions for Julie below, and we can maybe do an episode about that. Um, Anything you wish to say, or add, any questions you might have related to this topic or the others, something for our hosts otherwise, or for me, or for the company, please click like and subscribe again. That's important. It helps other people see the videos. Share with other people who may benefit, anoxic survivors, cardiac arrest survivors, TBI survivors of any sort, ABI survivors. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Do I leave?